Like I said, we're going to be in John chapter 13. So if you have a Bible on your phone or near you, please open it so you can read along with us here tonight. I got a quick question, and I'm not looking for a debate tonight, but maybe you could debate your friend. Who is the GOAT? You know what I'm talking about. The greatest of all time. Now, I know the greatest debate right now is LeBron James or Michael Jordan, right? Now, I know that you guys did not grow up in the 90s like I did. You weren't there like Pastor Kent was. But I'm telling you guys, I'm just telling you, he was a bad man. He knew how to knock out that ball. But I'm not talking about that GOAT. I'm not talking about the greatest football player. I mean, Jesus is the greatest of all time. I'm not going to lie. What I'm actually talking about is, listen up. What I'm talking about tonight is the disciples. Listen, guys. Check this out. Check this scene out. It's Jesus' last night here on this earth. Listen up, guys. Shh. It's Jesus' last night on this earth. And he decided he wanted to get his closest friends together. So him and his 12 disciples got together in an upper room and decided to have a meal together. How many guys would think that would be a great way to have your last night? Would be your friends, a good meal, and a good time. As they're having this meal, these 12 guys start having a debate. They start asking who's the GOAT. Who's the best? Who's the greatest of all the disciples? I'm sure Peter's like, nah, man. Remember that time I jumped out of the boat? Man, I was walking on the water. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe one of them was like, no. Don't you remember that time when I was the one that handed out the loaves and fishes? I'm the one that found that boy. Remember that time? Or maybe someone's like, no. I remember I was the one that prayed for that person. They got healed. Man, I'm the greatest. I don't know what their conversation looked like, but Jesus was listening in on this conversation. And I'm sure they're looking for him to make the ultimate, hey, guys, Peter's the best. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what he said. That's not how he responded. Check this out. Luke chapter 22, this is what he said, and then we're going to get into John chapter 13. A dispute rose among them as to which of them was considered to be the greatest. Jesus said to them, the kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, but those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not called to be like that. Instead, the greatest. You want to be great? You want to be significant? You want to be the GOAT in the kingdom? You should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who's at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. So Jesus pretty much, let me just break this down real quickly. If you want to be great, if you want to be the GOAT in the kingdom, you know what it looks like? Being last, being a servant, and caring about the needs of other people. Jesus put it this way, if you want to be first, you got to be last. It's so backwards. A lot of things that God teaches, a lot of things that Jesus taught are upside down. They're backwards as to what we see and what we experience here in this world. And so if you want to be great and significant, we have to remove ourselves, our pride, and humility, we have to serve. Why? Well, first of all, when we serve, we represent a king who desires when people to see us that people would ultimately see Jesus. How do we show Jesus to a dying world? Well, Jesus told us that people know that we are disciples not by what we wear, though some of you guys did a great job representing your leaders tonight, not by what we wear, not even by what we talk about, it's how we love one another. That we'll be defined as disciples of Jesus Christ by how we love in this room. Why is that? Well, it's because if we can't even love people that we're supposed to be called to, how are we ever supposed to love people outside this room? If we can't be a family in this room, why would anyone want to be a part of this? And it's so important that we represent Jesus well to a dying world and we love one another, that we care for one another, and it starts right in here. 1 John says that if you claim to have love and yet hate your brother, how can you claim to have the love of God in you? It's an oxymoron. If you've truly experienced the love of God, it will compel you to love and to care for one another. Well, what does that look like? Well, Jesus gave us the greatest example in John chapter 13. And he showed us what it looked like. It looked like a basin and a towel. It looked like a willingness to serve and to love. And if you're from Judah, you've probably heard some of this already, and I apologize, but maybe you haven't. You're like, wait, I haven't? Maybe you weren't listening the first time, so listen up the second time. All right? It may look like a basin and a towel. And that's what we see in John chapter 13. Why don't you guys open your Bibles with me? John chapter 13, starting in verse 1. After this, I like to envision these are two different stories of the same moment. That Jesus heard the debate, but instead of declaring who the greatest was, he decided to show them the example and prove to them that the greatest is always the one that's ready to set the example. And he set the example for us. John chapter 13 says this starting in verse 1. Read along with me. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. He knew he was about to die, guys. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. Can you guys say that with me? His full extent. All of it, right? The evening meal was already served, and the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. And Jesus knew it. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and he was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' nasty, stinky, disgusting feet. Praise him. Drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And then we see an exchange between Simon and Jesus. He's like, you can't wash my feet. He's like, you better. I'm better. All right. Jump down to verse 12. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I have done for you? He asked them, you call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I am your Lord and teacher, I have washed your feet, and you should also wash one another's feet. I have set, can you guys say, an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth. No servant is greater than the master, nor is the messenger greater than the one who has sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Quickly, I want you guys to understand a couple things in this passage as we think about when we close out this series. We've talked about pride. We talked about pride with God. We've talked about pride, thinking that we're better than people. Now I want to talk to you about a pride that says, you know what? It's not about me. It's about giving. It's about serving. It's about loving. And this is what it looks like. First of all, Jesus gave us the example of what this looks like right here in this passage. He showed them the full extent of his love. Love is such a twisted word in today's culture. It's not a feeling, it's an action. He didn't just say, hey guys, I just want to let you know I love you. Cards in the mail. Hope you enjoy it. No, he got up from the table and he showed them, right? Too often we tell our friends, I love you, but do we ever show the extent of our love to them? Too often we tell people in this room, hey, I care for you. When have we ever shown that to them? Love is an action. It's not just a word. It's not just the feeling that we get. No, it's an action, and he showed us that example. He was willing to get up from his place of significance and come to a place of humility. Come on, somebody. He got up from the table and got on his knees before somebody. It was like, hey, can you remove that sandal for me? Yeah, that stinky feet? Yeah, bring that up over here. Now, why in the world would Jesus wash everyone's nasty, stinky, disgusting feet? Like, just think about this for a moment. They wore sandals. They walked through the dirty streets. There was no toilets, okay? I'm just getting real. And someone's like, hey, what do we do with this bucket of nasty stuff? I don't know, just dump it out the door. Okay. And they dump it out the door. And sometimes you'd be like, hey, how did I get into this stuff? All right? Like, that's what you're walking through. And then you show up to somebody's house, and the lowest servant welcomed you and washed your feet when you walked in. Well, because it was just Jesus and his friends, there was no servant there to serve them. So Jesus put it upon himself to serve his disciples. Wow. No one asked him to. No one forced him to. No one pushed him to. He chose to give of himself. Get on his knees. Take off their nasty sandal. Put on a towel and wash their feet. That's what Jesus did for those guys in that moment. He showed us the way of love that was radical, that was significant. How many guys have ever seen a WWJD bracelet before, right? They're really popular in the 90s. It's kind of a almost pop culture type thing anymore. My wife actually bought me a different kind of bracelet for Christmas this past year. And it answers the WWJD question. And it simply is this: he would love first. Like he would love first. And so often when we think about Jesus, I hope that the imagery in your mind is always, what would Jesus do? He would love first. He got up from the table. He served. He showed us the example. And how did he show it to us? 2 ways. The basin of humility. He filled up this basin with what? Not like this, but I like to think it looked like this. I thought this looked cool because it's wood. Anyways, anyone? Okay, all right. Got up from the table, filled it up with water. Like I said, got on his knees. When was the last time, like this took time, guys. When was the last time you got up from your position, your place, and said, you know what, it's not about me. I'm going to get up from my position, and I'm going to get humbly before somebody and say, how can I help you? How can I serve you? What's going on in your life? How can I encourage you today? We get so focused on me that we miss out on us. And so often when we do that, you think that significance and influence is found in you pointing the finger to yourself. No. You're getting it backwards. Influence is found when you serve and care for the needs of others. You want to be significant on your football team? Start serving somebody. You want to be significant in your school? Start asking somebody how you can help them. You want to be significant right here at Meadowbrook Youth? Show up early and help us set up 9 Square. Somebody, come on, right? Serving in the kingdom of God is the gateway to influence and impact for all of eternity. If you want to have influence and impact in leadership, it looks through the avenue of serving. Because what happens when you get on your knees before someone else and you serve them, you've shown them a level of care and trust. And that builds over time. And that's what Jesus showed us. And let me tell you, pride will always look ugly on those who represent Jesus. When we stand in defiance of getting on our knees before other people and serving them, that's not Jesus. And people know it from afar. We claim to be Christians, but we don't act like Jesus. You can't be a follower of Jesus because you don't act like him. What does this look like? What does radical humility look like? Well, it looks like us thinking that we're not better than other people. We've talked about this last week, right? There's no one less than you that you should be willing to serve. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what they've said to you. I don't care what they've done to you. Because how do I know this? Because Jesus washed the feet of nasty Judas. He knew he was about ready to betray him, and yet he still said, come on over here, Judas. Let me get your sandals. Let me wash your feet. Judas, guys. And if we have a complaint about that friend that talked bad about, we can't serve Judas. If Jesus can serve Judas, we can serve him too. Because ultimately, we're not serving Judas, we're serving Jesus when we do that. And Proverbs tells us if someone's coming against you, you know how we change that situation? We heap on kindness, and it's like a heap of coals on their head. They're expecting you, like, I'm just backing them up. I'm going to talk back. Man, they don't expect, hey, how can I serve you? What's going on in your life? Why? Because hurt people, right? Most likely they're dealing with their own stuff, right? And when we come to serve them in humility, it changes them. It opens their heart. What does radical humility look like? Caring for the needs of others. Seek to understand rather than be understood. Don't judge people like we talked about last week. Get to know people. Get to know their story. And I think if we got to know their story, be more willing to serve them. And accept when you have been wrong and forgive when you have wronged. Some of us are holding back instead of giving. And God has asked us to forgive and not to hold on. And when we begin to humbly say, you know what, that's my bad. That was me. I'm sorry about that. We are serving other people. And admit when you've been wrong. Like if someone's wronged you, don't hold on to that. Seek forgiveness and reconciliation, right? We don't want to hold on to that. Can we just be honest? Right here in our own youth ministry, so much drama could end if we would just say, you know what? It's not about what I want. It's not about holding something over somebody. I'm going to kill that with kindness and forgiveness. And in humility, recognize I played a part. And I'm not going to entertain gossip. I'm not going to entertain drama. Why? Because that doesn't reflect the love of Jesus. And I want him to be reflected here. When people walk through these doors, I want them to see Jesus. I don't want them to see drama, right? And I hope that we have that heart right here at Meadowbrook Youth. Also, greatness requires a servant's heart. The towel. The towel. How can I serve you? You know, when Jesus, when he got off from the table, it says he took off his outer cloak. Think of it like the thing that it was really his identity in a lot of ways. A lot of times people would hold on to their cloak. It was identifying them. He took that off and he put on the towel. When the servant would, there's another verse in later on that Paul says, to clothe yourself in humility, what he literally meant was like pick up your towel like a servant would. Like, when like fancy restaurants, like, hello, welcome, like they got their little towel out here, like, I'm here to serve you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to think of that imagery. I don't think it was like that. It's probably more like, hey, here we go. All right. So, either way, I want you guys to have this image in your mind. When you go into your school, you're walking in with a towel. There you go. Exactly like that. Walk in with a towel wherever you go. I'm here to serve. Come on, anyone that went to Northern Ireland or Rockaway, what do we always say? Jesus did not come to be served, but to what? To serve. Yeah. Everywhere we go, guys, like Jesus, we're not here to be served, but to serve, right? Every time we walk into our football team, every time we walk into our school, in our home, hello, when mom's like, hey, can you help out with the chat? Nah, no, I'm here to serve, Mom. You want to knock the socks off your parents? Show up tonight and say, Mom, how can I help you tonight? It'll knock your parents right off their feet. Come on, somebody. If your mom starts crying, you know you really did good, okay? All right, so that's why I know I really was doing good. All right. Wherever you go, walk in with a towel. As soon as we remove the towel and think people are here to serve us, we've missed it all. Jesus never walked in thinking, how can people serve? No, he came in saying, how can I add value and care and love to those around me? He sought to help others. So what does this look like? Seek to help others, not use them. We are really quick to push people down to elevate ourselves. God has not called us to that. God has called us to humble ourselves, to lift other people up. Here's the cool thing. When you lift them up, guess who lifts you up? Jesus. Jesus says he's opposing the proud, and he will lift up those who are humble. You want to be lifted up? You want to be great in the kingdom? Get humble, get serving. He's going to lift you up. You want influence? Get serving. And that's when God will lift you up and use you in greater and more significant ways. What it looks like is being inclusive and instead of exclusive. Is it okay to have friends here at Meadowbrook Youth? You bet it is. We'd like to talk about cliques, in our schools, right? That, they only hang out with those people, right? Like, there are those people that we just connect with, and that's natural, and that's okay. But what I'm talking about is, do we respect other people outside of our circle? Do we ever invite others in? Or is it us four and no more? Do we have a mentality that we're the mean girls every time we walk into our school, that we think we're better than everybody, and we have the elite mentality? Like, catch yourself. If you're only hanging out with the same people over and over again and you never have conversations with anybody else, you might be thinking that you're serving yourself, and you need to be cautious with that. Also, embrace interruptions. Jesus always embrace interruptions. You have interruptions happen all the time in your home. Your mom, hey, could you help me wash the dishes tonight? Mom, I'm listening to my music. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah, I can help out, Mom. When you're in your school and someone, hey, can you stay late after school? I'm really struggling with this math right now. That's an invitation to show love and care and humility and say, yeah, I'd love to help you with that, and to make an impact in their life, okay? I want to tell you a story of a friend of mine. Her name was Amber, and Amber was in my youth ministry. We didn't have a very big youth group when I was growing up. Many of you know I didn't have a youth pastor until I was a senior in high school. Amber was somebody that, unfortunately, my brother and I made fun of a lot. Not even just behind her back, but to her face. I hate to admit it now, but she was somebody that was an easy target. A lot of times she had a lot of health challenges early on in her life. She with flashing lights, she had the possibility of having a seizure. And my brother thought it'd be funny to flick on and off the lights one time on her. And it was just terrible, guys. I don't even want to say some of the other things we did just to be mean to her. And I think back at that, like, why did I do that? What was the intentionality with that? Why was I like that? And, I think in some ways I thought I was better than her, that I don't know what I was thinking, and I think sometimes if we can examine our own hearts, like, why do we even say that to people? Why do I even put people down like that? That's not Jesus Christ, right? Amber always showed up to youth group. She was always there. Every activity we had, she was there. Like, Amber was a big part of our life. My parents and her parents were very close. Every time we had small groups, Amber was at our house. We always hung out with her. And as me and my brother got into high school, this had gone on for probably a year and a half or so, and I was like, one day, I don't know, it wasn't like a switch like, oh, we should be nice to Amber, but it was kind of like one of those things where over time, like, man, what am I doing? This isn't helping her. This isn't helping us. This is ridiculous. Like, we need to stick together. It's probably after we lost someone that was going to be a youth pastor and didn't. And that was, anyways, that's a whole nother story. But I think we just realized that we needed to bond together. And so we started, when Amber was over, we started hanging out with her. And we started asking her questions and showing a level of care. She wasn't one of our best friends, but she was someone that was a part of our group. She was a part of our family. And my senior year, I'm about ready to graduate. She was 2 years younger than me. She was close to my brother's age. And we had like a senior recognition like we do here at Meadowbrook. And after service, she came up to me with a large package, a box, and she said, hey, I have something for you. I'm like, oh, wow, Amber, what is it? I opened it up, and it was a hand-crocheted blanket, like a full-size blanket, because she knew I was going off to college, and my parents were about ready to leave for Cambodia. And she said, you know, I just wanted to let you know, I just really appreciate how much you went on your way for me, and that you took care of me, and I wanted to make this blanket for you to let you know how much that just meant to me. And I was so blown away, guys. I didn't think I don't think I ever really went out of my way or did anything extraordinary, but that I took the time, and I saw her, and I served her in little ways, like, meant the world to her. And I'm so excited to say that my wife and I got invited to her wedding. Many years ago, we were at her wedding, and we were able to celebrate that moment with her. And my parents and her parents still stay in touch. She's doing so well in life. It's just so cool to see. And she's overcome so many health challenges. It's truly amazing. It's truly a miracle of God. But I'm so grateful as I look back that at some moment I recognized this ain't good, and this ain't Jesus. And I chose to get up from my seat, pick up a basin of humility, maybe a little bit of apologizing, grabbed my towel and said, you know what? I'm going to start serving. Tonight, I want to ask you guys, I like you. There's a banner that is out in that foyer. Every time you walk into these doors, it says, welcome to a loving place. That will never matter until we love as a family first. That's just a statement. What's real is what happens in this room, in these relationships right here. Whether you like it or not, you don't get to choose your family. You don't necessarily get to choose who walks through these doors, but everyone who walks through this door is family. And how we love one another is a representation to a dying world of the love of Jesus Christ. And what I'm asking you to do tonight, yeah, you know what? Maybe their feet stink a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe their lives are a little different than yours, and you don't like it or it makes you feel uncomfortable. Guess what? It's uncomfortable cleaning feet. It's okay. Get up from your position. Humble yourself, pick up a towel, and just start serving somebody and start loving them. And I would really challenge you, if any of you here tonight are holding on to unforgiveness or a grudge or drama with somebody else in this room, you know what Christ has called us to do? He's called us to forgive. And that Scripture God takes forgiveness very seriously. And when we hold on to unforgiveness, you know what Jesus said? He can't really forgive you. That's really significant, guys. That he takes it that seriously. So don't forget what you've been forgiven of, even when someone wrongs you. That you be quick to forgive and slow to hold on to issues in the past. And so what I'm going to ask us to do tonight is, here in just a minute, guys with guys, girls with girls, I'm going to ask you to find one other person in here that maybe you don't know very well. Or maybe you know their name, you don't know their story maybe. Or you've been around them, but you haven't really gotten a chance to know them. And what I want you to do tonight is just simply ask them, what is something I can pray with you about tonight? And then exchange that prayer request, and then just begin to pray over them. We're going to just take...
We encourage you, if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe so you can watch the videos every week as they come out and see what's happening here at Meadowbrook Youth. We meet every Wednesday and Sunday, and every Wednesday night we meet at 6:30 if you ever want to come join us here in Champaign, Illinois. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave those down below, and make sure you like the video. If you really enjoy it, why don't you share it with somebody today, all right?